Hey, what's up, everybody? Um, haven't made a video in like a week, maybe a little over a week. It's Bates, the Great Reactor here, and sorry, haven't made a video in a while. Just a little bit of a quick update. I made a video, of course. I think it was, dang, bruh. Um, We reacted to, I think it was the Pistons. We were reacting to the Pistons and crazy game, wild down the stretch. Um, and unfortunately, it got blocked. Is why you guys haven't been able to see it. But shortly after I made that video, because I think I made that video on like Thursday, the week before last, on Thursday, and literally the day after, bro, I dropped my phone. I dropped my phone in the kitchen. It fell off like the kitchen counter. It felt, like just a loud thud, as it freaking hit fell to the ground. So yeah, not to get much more into detail. Long story short, yeah, I basically messed up my phone, and yeah, you see the problem with because I recently, of course, did get another phone. But it's actually an old it's actually a past phone, and so pretty much, what I recently, found out, like yesterday or the day before when I was about to get back to making videos and stuff, I was actually going to make my pick'em bracket. I was finna make a pick'em bracket video, but it was gonna be my own version. But yeah, I was gonna do a pick'em bracket video, but my screen record, like that I normally would do on that phone, there is no screen record on this phone. So until I can, which is gonna be soon, in like maybe a couple weeks, maybe. Um, yeah, I will, get like an actual like, new phone, get, the same type of, model, so I can get back to making videos like this again. But yeah, just a crazy past like week or so, like with me getting a reaction video blocked that Friday morning. I said Thursday, but it was actually that Friday morning. Turns out the video got blocked. So yeah, and then yeah, shortly after that, later that day, I dropped my phone and messed it up basically at that point. So yeah, I just want to give a quick update. We may not have any videos being, we're not going to have any videos being put out anytime soon. Just to give you guys a quick update on that right now. But while I'm here talking, I guess we can do a little bit of a recap of the four games that happened yesterday. Not going to be able to react to them, but I guess I can do a little quick recap on all four games. Um, I actually didn't watch the Bucks Pacers game. I pretty much just kept ties, on the game, kept track of, the game. Uh, Pretty much the Pacers just put BTA. They put BTA on Milwaukee yesterday, which I kind of expected. No Dame, no Dame makes their ability to shoot like significantly drop, They are actually, when you look at the statistics, they are the most efficient 3-point shooting team in the playoffs. But a big part of that is because of Dame. Now, I know they got Taurean Prince and Bobby Portis, who were two of their most efficient 3-point shooters, but it's Dame, man, Dame Dalla. So at the end of the day, not having his presence out there on the court is definitely monumental. So, yeah, right now the Pacers, of course, up 1-0 in the series, but, that's why it's game one. All right. And I believe Dame is expected to come back game two. So that will definitely, maybe shake things up a little bit in the series if he can come back, and then the Bucks can split and not have to worry about falling behind 2-0. Yes. So pretty much, the Pacers, I mean, they shot better than the Bucks, and were able to get rebounds better. And that's pretty much, like I said, I didn't watch the game. I just, know the stats and know the box scores and stuff like that. It was pretty much BTA. And then, yeah, up next, the game that I was eyes and ears, on top of, was the Los Angeles Clippers Denver Nuggets game one. And my God, granted, the Clippers had control of that game for the first 18 minutes, for the first quarter and a half. They had control. And then, not gonna lie, I kind of fell asleep. I dozed off. I had some KFC, prior to watching the game. But yeah, so I kind of dozed off, because the Clippers just had complete, a stranglehold on the Nuggets for that first quarter and a half. So I fell asleep, and then I woke up, and it's a 4-point game at halftime. I'm like, whoa, what happened? And then, yeah, so the sports, analysts and stuff, were kind of going over it. And of course, Stephen A. and them talking about the Clippers. I mean, you could not have possibly played a much better half than they did. And yet what's dangerous and scary is that the Nuggets were still able, those final 6 minutes of the half, were able to chip away at the lead and were able to make it a 4-point game at halftime. And so at that point, I'm like, oh yeah, the Nuggets are still the Nuggets, and they still have Jokic, they still have Jamal Murray, they still got MPJ, they still got nominator for 6th Man of the Year, Russell Westbrook. So they're going to be fine for this second half. However, the Clippers did start to, get themselves a little bit of separation again. And then the Nuggets looked like they were making a little bit of a run. Each time they kept on pulling within 3, and then they would inbound the ball and have a chance to score. I kept on wanting them to take a 3. Just take the 3. You keep on putting yourself in this situation where you're making it a 3-point game. Just take the 3, bro. I promise you, with Jamal Murray, Jokic, bro, I promise you, one of them things are going to fall and you're going to tie this game up. But they kept on trying to take the 2. They kept on trying to take the 2. And there were actually times where it backfired on them because Jokic had a couple easy layup misses, just bricked it, just was short. And it was really, really frustrating. Really frustrating. I'm like, oh my God. Nonetheless, eventually a Jamal Murray 3 did tie the game up at 81, of course. And then the Clippers went on another 8-0 run to take a little bit of a comfortable lead. Just a little bit, though. at the end of the day, then the Nuggets came back and eventually, by the time, I went to work, yeah, it was like a 1 point game. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, yes, sir. And it just became a heavyweight fight. And then, yeah, while I was at work, I kept on, watching the game, watching the TV. And yeah, it was a heavyweight fight, ladies and gentlemen. At that point, it was just back and forth, tough defense down the stretch. Ironically, the Nuggets with one of the lowest defensive rating teams in these playoffs. No, the lowest ranked defensive rating team going into these playoffs. And shout out to the Nuggets. Shout out to the Nuggets. They played some pretty good defense. Now the switch was they benched Michael Porter Jr. and they put Russell Westbrook in down the stretch. And my God, was that huge for the Nuggets. Shout out to Elderman, the coach, because that was huge. Having Russell Westbrook's heart, passion, and physicality out there on the court to match up with the Clippers was huge. It was monumental. And it really, kind of shifted the momentum somewhat a little bit because the Clippers had control of the game and then the Nuggets came back and eventually they took the lead and then the Clippers actually, responded with a bucket and then it became a 98-98 tie, a 100-100 tie at the end of regulation. And it's one thing when a game goes into overtime, right? Because then it's just about resiliency. Who's going to be more resilient? Who is going to put forward their best effort in overtime when you're tired? Who is going to come forward with the best effort to pull away in this overtime period? Well, turns out both teams came forward with some great effort, because it still came down to the wire even at the very end. And yeah, nonetheless, the Nuggets escaped with a 112-110 lead. But if you're a Clippers fan, I just can't help but think you gotta be demoralized by a loss like this. Because to be quite honest with you, the Nuggets could not have played any worse. All right, no offense, but they could not have played any worse than they did for most of this game. They could not have played any worse. They weren't shooting the ball well. At times. They finished 9 out of 27 from 3. Yeah, like at the end of the day, it was bad. It was horrendous at times. They could not have played a much worse game than they did. There were some easy buckets out there that Jokic could have had, and for some reason he was just selling. But even with all that, they still managed to hang on and managed to really lock in the fourth quarter. And yeah, they managed to pull ahead and survive in overtime to get the win. I promise you, the Nuggets are not going to play any worse than they did yesterday. I promise you. And so this is tough for the Clippers. This is really tough. I think these games are going to be a battle, but I'll tell you what, the Clippers, they're going to need, a little more offensively, a little more juice offensively, these next games coming up, if they want a chance in this series, because that's the worst the Nuggets are going to play offensively the rest of this series. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. So they really needed this game. They really needed this game so bad because let's say hypothetically, okay, the Nuggets come in with a little more energy and a little more fire next game, which they will, then at least you would be 1-1 tied going to Los Angeles with home court the next two games. So, yeah, but now you find yourself in a situation where you're in jeopardy of being down 2-0 more than likely by the time you get some home games in games 3 and 4. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But they just really needed that game. And now let's get to the Pistons Knicks. Again, this one was actually a heavyweight fight, a close, battle-tested game from the very beginning. It was tied at the end of the first. Big three by the Pistons, whoever that player was, right before the half. And yeah, they had a little bit of confidence, going into that locker room with that three. But at the end of the day, you know what the Knicks are all about. And so you also know what Jalen Brunson is all about. Shout out to him and his 34 points. He played outstanding in that game. And yeah, so the game was still deadlocked by the end of the third quarter, and it was still a really good game. At the end of the day, don't let the final score fool you. For the most part, this was a battle all the way to the very end, for the most part. The Knicks just managed to be the more resilient team, and they pulled away, in the last few minutes of the game. But yeah, so we had two really good games: the Nuggets Clippers game and the Knicks Pistons game. Now I want to talk about the Timberwolves Lakers. Oh my God. I actually was going into this. I had the Los Angeles Lakers as my number one scariest team in the West going into the playoffs. And then they play like that last night in game 1. Crazy. At the end of the day, I mean, it's Ant. I'm just kidding. He scored 22 points. He had himself a nice game, but it was the Timberwolves bench. The Timberwolves bench scored 43 points to the Lakers 10. All right, and the JJ Redick did not give Dalton Knecht very many minutes. He played 5 minutes. He scored 3 points. I mean, I don't know about what that's all about, but it is what it is. But it was a very disappointing game. I absolutely expect the Lakers to come out way stronger than that game 2 and still come out with the series victory. But yeah, that was definitely that was a head scratcher last night. That was a head scratcher. But that's pretty much, my recap. That's my little insight on how yesterday's games went. Of course, today, what games are being played today? I know the Rockets, are playing us, later tonight. I know Boston Magic as well, but we'll recap the games that are going to be happening tonight. This is just basically what we're going to have to do, from this point forward until I can, get, until I get a, new phone where I can get back to doing screen record again. But that's pretty much it. As always, leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you are familiar with the channel, then just leave a like, comment down below your thoughts on some of the games that happened yesterday. And yeah, game 1. At the end of the day, it's just game 1. So with that being said, this has been Bates, the Great Reactor, and that is it.